好，我哋應該會喺 live 嗰度，仲有10秒到啦，會見到我哋自己噶啦。
Okay.
Hi, Hon Mun, I can see you from live already. Good.
Oh, good.
How are you today?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to
Great,
this
great, great.
podcast.
Very good, very good. Yeah, thank you everyone could join us today for our podcast number 5, Future Food Innovation Leadership Unlocked. Today we have our featured speaker, Hon Mun. I'm going to, in the next 30 minutes, I'm going to really try to dig as much as possible the wisdom from Hon Mun. But if you are someone new to our podcast, for the first 20 minutes, it will be the time that I will be speaking with Hon Mun, but for the last 10 minutes, if you want to know anything about Hon Mun, sustainability, future food, or leadership, please share with us the questions in our chat. So we will be reading out and answer as much as we can. Okay, Hon Mun, are you ready?
I am.
Good, right? Good. So I think we just go straight to our conversation today. Future food innovation leadership unlocked. But if you haven't known about Hon Mun yet, maybe I give you a really brief background of who Hon Mun is, and then I will ask him about all his secrets behind his leadership success. Hon Mun is actually really proud as a father for 3 daughters. Okay, he is a successful business person, but at the same time, he loves his family. When I say he's successful, because Hon Mun is a 2-time CEO for telecom giant in the world. He also assumed a number of really senior positions in different parts of the world. He not just working from Singapore. He has been stationing in China, Hong Kong, South Korea, and also Thailand. So he's a very well-experienced global leader. But in the past 10 years, I know that Hon Mun, you have a new passion. You really go deep and then you become a food tech investor. I know that you, with your own money, you have a portfolio of 30 food tech startup. So tell us, do you consider yourself a very successful corporate leader and also like a food tech investor? What do you think about yourself, Hon Mun?
Well, first of all, thanks for the very kind introduction. Um, Success, I always think that success is a moving target. Because when I look
Mhm.
back, I'm actually very thankful that I reached many of the goals that I set for myself. But I also believe there's more to learn and grow. So do I consider myself successful as a corporate leader? So I want to say that I was born in Singapore and the same year that it became a nation. So like Singapore, I started with nothing, no resources, no connections, but I follow Mr. Lee Kuan Yew's vision. So work hard, stay strong, and I'm thankful that I'm also become part of Singapore's success. So it shaped my life in a very big way. So whatever I have today is what Singapore gave me. So in that situation, yeah, I'm successful. But do I consider myself successful as a future tech investor? I think I have achieved my goal. My goal is to help my children build a better planet for them to live in, and also to partner my children as they develop their career and their purpose. In fact, 2 out of my 3 children are in this space. One actually went back to school to do a master's to become a food scientist. Then the other
Mhm.
starts working for an asset management company after she graduated from environmental science and data science.
Wow. I just feel that Hon Mun is someone very humble. He really show his gratitude to his country, right? He doesn't take all the credit for himself. But I mean, for the food tech, it's very interesting. Like Hon Mun brought up about his children. His children inspire him. Am I hearing you correctly?
Yeah, we had a big debate, and I decided no point debating, right? Just stop debating and jump in and help them, since I have a lot of experience and I can open up my
Mhm.
network. And that's how I started it.
Perfect, perfect. But if I have to iron out what particular within like the future food or the future food innovation that interests you and excites you and drive you to give your past hand year a lot of your passion, time, and even money, right?
Yeah.
Into it.
Yeah.
What is it exciting there?
So a bit of a background. I was a CEO of a joint venture between the
Mhm.
Singapore and Chinese government. My role is to address the food security for Singapore and food safety for China. If you recall, there was a infant milk formula scandal in China. So Singapore has been helping the Chinese together to solve that. So I was a CEO of this joint venture. That was my beginning and education on food systems. My background is in telecom, nothing to do with this. So that was the first time I do this. So I was literally a farmer in China in a place called Jilin. I was shocked to see
Mm,
how unsustainable our food production system is. So first of all, the farming methods are as old as 10,000 years ago. The process
mm,
involving you raise the animal, you feed them, you slaughter them, and then you process the meat. And we are still doing this after 10,000 years, despite all this technology going around. Then along the way, we used up a lot of land and other natural resources, sometimes clearing forests that is regulating our climate to grow grass for feeding. For example, I'm not sure whether a lot of people know, it takes about 24 to 36 months or even more to raise a cattle before it can be slaughtered and make it into meat. That's a long time. And in the process, you actually have to clear a lot of land to make it into grass so that the animal can eat the grass and grow meat. So scientists
mm.
keep thinking, is there a way that we can bypass this, go straight into making the meat? And by the way, it
Wow.
takes 1.5 to 2.5 acres of land per cow per year just to grow the grass. So then, for example, milk. Guess how much milk, liters of water it takes to produce 1 liter of milk? A
Don't
thousand.
know.
1,000 liters for one. This is not
Wow.
clearly not very efficient, right? So I turned to technology to look for a solution. That was when I was introduced to alternative protein. So I started investing in. So there are three categories in alternative protein: plant-based, fermentation-based, and then cultivated meat. The potential is very promising because we can reduce resource use by as much as 90 to 99%. So instead of taking years, it only takes weeks to produce a meat that is biologically identical to the farm grown meat.
Wow. I felt like I just got a fast track to knowing about the future food. And then so I just hear that what excites like Hon Mun for the future food is you probably are a problem solver, right? And then you try to find new way because when you understand that for every like glass of like milk actually is 1,000 times so the water like being like put into it to produce that like one glass of milk. So I mean instead of like meat, real meat, you try to find whether there's other way that can feed a human being, but in a more like sustainable way. That is what I have from Hon Mun. So you have a portfolio of 30 like food tech, and I'm sure you have like received. How many like proposal have you received? And
Wow.
people want you to invest.
Multiple times, just cannot remember how many times.
Yeah, I guess has to be like 5 times, even 10 times.
Oh, more
But
than
I
that,
know
more than
that
that.
with your like portfolio of 30 right now. So what are some of the future food founders that when you talk with them, what's the common leadership challenge that they share with you in this space?
Yeah, very good question. I have been coaching a lot of them, especially during the past 2 years when the investment sentiment is actually pretty down. Many of the
Mm-hmm.
challenges upon reflection comes from not being clear about who they are and why they start this business to begin with. Because
Mm,
without this understanding, it's hard to make decisions that match actually their values and long-term goals.
mm,
Uh, and also, another problem contributing to current situation is inexperience. It's not their
Mhm.
fault. Inexperience can be gained, right?
Yeah.
But when you have the right purpose, why you started this, then you will be able to ride through the ups and downs. The problem that they have because of the inexperience as well is you only see the good times. Then when the bad times hit, which is any business have this. In fact, business schools, there's so many books, including Crossing the Chasm, Gartner Hype Cycle, Technology Adoption Cycle, accurately predicted that for the past 20 years. Nobody read that, of course. Lah. So when investors offer a large sum of money, and this is one of the very common problem, and give your startup a very unrealistic high valuation, hundreds of million
Mhm.
for not having a product, not having any revenue, you feel like everything is perfect. And that was what happens in the beginning. The first 2 to 3 years, people lining up
Mhm.
just to give you money. This can lead
Mm.
to very poor decisions and set unrealistic expectations, which hurts the business in the long run.
Yeah, so maybe what I heard from Hon Mun is a lot of the startup like food tech startup founders, just like other startup founders, at the beginning they have something very passionate, they have a problem they think they can solve, but once the funding gone or the is diminishing, so it's a real test for their leadership strength. I think your startup founders is so fortunate because you're not just putting your money there with your leadership experience, actually, they also got your mentorship as well. So today, because we want to dig out Hon Mun's wisdom, okay? So let me focusing on you right now. Hon Mun, if I want to hear from you, if there's one or two leadership quality that you think an effective leader should do or should have, is there any one person or is there any one instant inspire you about that belief? First of all, what is that quality you think an effective leader should have? And then who inspired you or what inspired you? Share that with us, please.
Hmm. There are many qualities. I just want to highlight two that are relevant,
Mhm.
especially relevant in today's environment, even more relevant in the past few days when the world suddenly go into a tailspin. These two qualities to me is important
Mhm.
because things like having an open mind and you stay
Okay.
curious, meaning anything can
Mhm.
change. And the second one is continuous learning, be innovative. Um, they are very essential for growing your skills and adapting to new challenges.
Yeah. So
And
thank you. What's that incident or people that inspired you about this?
again, it's also a moving target, different stages of my life. I have
Mhm.
different people that inspire me. I think more of those leaders who are able to be consistent from day one they come in. And I have always
Mhm.
wondered why this person, especially leaders in the uh, my 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 parents' generation, for example, they're
Mhm.
very focused. And what I like about the focus is that today we talk in NUS Business School, I teach a class in applied sustainability, and one focus is the ESG, right? So my children are talking about the E, the environment, and so on. But the S part is very, very interesting because the old generation of leaders, they take care of the community, their staff,
Mhm.
as much as they take care of the shareholders. In fact, at that time, probably more to the community and the staff than the social part of it. Whereas these days, we're beginning to see there's more profit-driven model versus the staff and the community. So very interesting. And then you see these businesses that my father's generation, grandfather's generation, they've been around for hundreds of years, centuries. So that's
Mhm.
very interesting to see what history has taught us.
Yeah. So let me just summarize what I have from Hon Mun. I mean, as an effective leader, we have to stay open-minded, curious, but at the same time, it's a focus because, I mean, as you said, for the really successful company, they stay there for like 100 years. There's one thing in common for those leaders. They're very focusing on building. the wellness, the well-being of their own team and also the community. The caring part stays. I think that's what we need, even in a very disruptive,
Right.
unpredictable reality that we are dealing with right now. Okay, let us talk about something some people may be interested to know about what not to do. Okay,
Oh, Polly, do we have time to? I
yeah,
also wanted to add on to what you just said.
please, please.
So we talk about the qualities. I would like to highlight a skill that every manager should have. And there is
Mm-hmm.
this 50-year or more than 50-year model called situational leadership model. I
Well,
think I was a
mm,
manager for many times and I struggled quite a bit
mm,
also. Now, this model, situational leadership model, teaches
mm,
leader that they must adapt their management style. Just like I now sharing with my undergrad is you must adapt your approach when the environment change based on
yeah,
the readiness and the development level of their team members. So whether a team member needs direction or more autonomy, the right approach depends on their ability to perform that task independently. For example, right, I used to
yeah,
struggle with this question from day one. Why does a top sales performer, when promoted to a manager role, sometimes perform very poorly? It's
mm,
because it lies in the understanding that being good at the task doesn't necessarily translate to being good at leading others to do that task. So very
yeah,
simple and profound. And I think this thing many of the managers knew and not so knew constantly struggle. And you are a
yeah.
master in doing that. You're a master trainer in that. So you know more than anybody else on this. So that's one thing that I realized. There's something you need to have the quality, but you also need
Yeah,
to equip the manager the skills because after all, they are the one that leads the people to do the task.
yeah. My hands up to you. Okay. Yeah, completely, completely. I mean, the world just changed almost like every day. So if we want to be successful, first thing we have to make someone that they work for you successful. So you will be able to predict your success as a leader overall. Okay. Thank you for bringing that very essential adaptability like traits or skill set from a effective leader. Let's turn to something that I want to hear from you. From your experience, what is something an effective leader should not do? So people trying to avoid that since day one.
Yeah, very good question. I am a big culprit from day one. And I think many, including many of my coaches, many of the managers that I know, the number one issue in my view is don't treat every issue as a problem to solve.
Okay. Tell
We
us
are deal
more. Tell us
Yeah,
more.
because we're dealing with humans. Sometimes
Mm,
it's just about listening and guiding them through discovery. My
mhm,
coach used to show me that leadership is not about solving the problem for them and getting it done quickly, not about efficiency and things like that. But you're
mm,
dealing with human and you want them to grow, you want them to have the skills that is sustainable. So it's more about empowering the others, not about
mm.
giving the solution and the answer. If you give
Yeah.
them solution and answer all the time they run into a problem, then you will end up having all the burden on your shoulder and you will just burn out.
Mhm.
And they never
Yeah.
learn. So how can the organization be sustainable? In fact, there's a lot of times we always tell the new CEO is that you should actually train your people until your job is gone. It's
Wow.
it's very difficult to understand that, but when you reach there, you understand.
Perfect, perfect. So what I heard from Hon Mun is what a effective leader should not do. There are times that your performer needs solution. There are times that they just need encouragement. So if you choose, you're trying to like deal with every situation by just solving a problem that doesn't exist. Sometimes you might be turning your like team member away because they want you to listen. They do not need like solution from you.
Yeah.
Is that what I hear from you, Hon Mun?
Yeah, not only that, when we were talking, I just remember in the situational leadership model, right?
Thank you.
There's
Thank you.
there's one style that says you just need to give support and listen. Doesn't have to tell the person what he needs to do step by step.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. So, I mean, 20 minutes just gone.
Oh,
Time
wow. Okay.
flies.
Really? Okay.
Okay. Wow. So, let us just summarize what we just talked in the past 20 minutes, and then we move on to the Q&A session. Okay? Yeah,
Okay.
so Harman, I'm going to give you a tough task. Maybe in like one line or two lines. Um, what do you like consider um what are some of the potential within the future food innovation and leadership there?
What are the potential?
Yeah.
Well, the potential is actually very limitless, you ask me, because we're beginning to look at technology that totally rework the way we produce food. Instead of
Mm,
10,000, we're still following the 10,000 years ago. And actually, to
mm-hmm,
be honest, it's only 150 years ago they tried to change it a little bit, but the fundamental is the same, meaning they squeeze everybody into a small factory so that you have lots of animals that squeeze together and produce the meat quickly. That and then in the process, the technology that they use is like antibiotics, growth hormones, and stuff like that. That's a we call in class we call sustaining technology. What we
yeah,
want is a sustaining innovation. What we want is disruptive innovation. So the disruptive innovation is this. You want meat, you don't have to raise an animal for 36 months and then 1.5 acres, 2.5, and then in the process, cause all these climate challenges that we have. So with AI, machine learning, all this, we actually could do all the guessing work, leave it to machine. But then we can be more creative on how to produce food. Maybe for Poly you and for me in Singapore, different level of food, but the one that is nutritious, tasty, and very inexpensive so that we can live nutritiously, right?
wow. So what I hear from Harman is because today we talk about future food innovation, leadership, and law. I think that will be leader to try to come up with like new way disruptive way to create nutritious food for us, but that is not causing that much harm to our climate. That's why it's a more sustainable technology from what I heard. Okay. And then maybe I just trying to summarize from what I learned from Harman today. I think like Harman really gave me the impression that he's really other centered. And then no matter how high up he is in the corporate world or in the investor world, he stays very humble. I mean, he doesn't see success as his own success. He really see that if he can make other people successful, then he will be successful. So you are a exemplified like leader that really focusing on making others like great. Okay, let's move on to the Q&A session. Are you ready for the questions, Herman?
Yep.
All good, right? So let me just like hear some of the question there. Because I mean, I hear I got like friends that are very interested in future food. They might be thinking whether they will become like founders there. Just tell me, what are the leadership traits that a food tech founder should possess so that they can be made innovative and they can balance between sustainability and scalability? What's that? Share with us your wisdom, please.
What kind of qualities a founder
Leadership
should possess?
quality.
A founder
Yeah.
should possess. Yeah. So number one, I assume that you are taking money from the investor.
Mm-hmm.
If that is the case, then just make sure that whatever valuation they say you can have, you
Mm-hmm.
need to need to ask yourself, is that the reason why you started the company to begin with? So
Mm-hmm.
that's number one, your purpose in the beginning. And then the other one would be they will be up and down as you bring your company to different level growth stages. Need to
Mm-hmm.
stay very open and need to have good mentors around and also
Mm-hmm.
continuous learning because you may be a very good scientist, but then you are running a business. The business part of it, that part itself is something that you need to learn. And
Mm-hmm.
the fastest you learn, the better it is. So surround yourself with good mentors, good coaches, and just enjoy the journey. They will be failures and they will be success. Yeah, one other thing that I would like to part is that treat the success and failure as just data points that you input for you to grow. Do not
Mm-hmm.
bias against failure and just want to go for success. One of the problem we saw in the early years was that everybody was chasing for success. So when your valuation go higher and higher and higher, you don't have any product, you think that, wow, I'm good. Actually, without failures, you won't be able to learn. And so when this failure comes, failure in just like in is a moving target, just like success as well. You need to take both of them in because your mind should be open and grow. So this first startup may not be successful. But what have you learned? Which is why currently my job is not to put more money in, but to coach
Mm-hmm.
them to be a resilient founder. Because in my view, when I invest in a company, it's long term. I give them
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 times before they truly, lead the company to the success. But before the two
Mm-hmm.
and three times, what is going to happen? Failure. So I accept that.
Perfect. So even though like startup founders, they might want to be very innovative, but there are ups and downs. That's why the true quality is whether you are resilient enough to go to others and surround yourself, educate yourself with very experienced like leaders, so they share their business wisdom with you and how to deal with all the ups and downs. Okay. So another question that we have in mind is actually future food innovation. Share with us what are the upcoming like trends or technology on that space that we should watch out that will shape the future of food. Yeah, I'm going to learn so much on that. So interesting.
So there are actually two levels. One is long-term breakthrough
Mm-hmm,
technologies. Nobody can ignore the big elephant in the room, which is
mm-hmm,
AI and machine
mm-hmm,
learning. And AI will come very fast. In fact, it's already
mm-hmm,
here. AI will be very cheap, very powerful. But what it does
mm-hmm.
is it's basically take years and millions of dollars away or reduce them to free up the resources so that founders can focus on creativity and innovation. So don't outsource your creativity and innovation to that, but they shorten the process. So instead of having to wait 2 years, going through many multiple yeast organism or cells to find the best yield, which one can reduce the cost and things like that, let AI and the machine learning do all the calculation, and then you make a decision based on that. So AI and machine learning will make a big impact, just like calculators arrive and we don't have to do a lot of calculation. In the old days, I'm still using log table and slide rule,
Yeah.
right? Then the near-term technologies, most important is um, things that are particular to food tech, animal-free growth medium, food-grade
Mm.
bioreactors, and scaffolding to help make the food texture better. All these will lead to reducing the cost, more nutritious, better tasting meat that you can't tell the difference.
I see. Will that make me younger?
Now we can do something about that part as well.
Yeah. So I think what Hon shared with us today is I can see he's very excited about the future food. And then one thing Hon keep reminding us, we will need to tie in with the latest technology, be it AI, machine learning, because the future is what we need is sustainability. The traditional way of cultivating food or food processing cannot deal with the needs of the nowadays. Am I correct,
Yeah,
Herman?
correct. We're going to have 9.5 billion people by
Yeah.
year 2050, if I recall the number correctly. How are we
Mm-hmm.
going to feed these people, this growing population, without cutting more trees? In fact, we have exceeded in using our resources. in compared to how we put back to the environment. So we need to actually put a stop to cutting all the trees, using the resources, while at the same time you cannot don't feed the population, right? So that's why you
Yeah.
need technology help. I mean, 10,000 is a years is a long time to use the same things that the same method of producing food. Now we have so much
Yeah.
technology, we do so much. We send people in the moon. Very soon we send people in Mars. Can't we use that technology to help do something very basic?
Yeah. Thank you. So, Hon Mun, I'm so glad that we had talked about like future food innovation and leadership today. You share with us not just from your like past corporate experience, you really share with us with your own like food tech investment experience there. If you would like to give like one line before we say goodbye to our audiences today, what is something that if you have this challenge that they can come to you?
Can you ask the question again?
Yeah. The question is if people maybe they want in they are a food tech founder or they are corporate leaders, if they have what kind of problems that if they want to seek for your advice or seek for your coaching, what are the things they can come to you and maybe get inspired by you?
Oh, interesting. I think if you feel stuck today for whatever reason, not sure whether which career you should pivot to,
Mm-hmm.
or you seem lost because of all the uncertainty out there, just drop
Mm-hmm.
me a line and we have a chat. I think one of the things I
Okay.
do as a coach is to help you see possibilities if you are unstuck,
Yeah.
and to help you, hopefully, you pick up a few skills to start seeing things in a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. In fact, very common, people are stuck because they only think things in one way. And you don't blame them because all these years they have been taught to do things one way, and suddenly uncertainty hits. Then they got stuck.
Yeah, I could not thank you more, Hon Mun, today with the sharing with your personal experience. I think Hon Mun is someone very like willing to help. So if you got stuck, if you want to see a different future, please like go to LinkedIn and then connect with Hon Mun. I'm sure he will be able to help you in whatever way. So I think that should be the end of our podcast today. Let's just say goodbye. And I hope today we shed light to your leadership journey. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks, Polly. Bye bye.
You're